Meanwhile, the White House reportedly planning to ask for a $100 billion foreign aid package, which includes funding to support Israel and Ukraine. But will Congress go for it? Louisiana Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, he had a firsthand look when he visited Israel on the ground this week. You just returned from a trip from there. You were there with a bipartisan Senate group. Senator, is there enough consensus to get this package passed?
I think there is. Obviously, it's going to be a package which includes aid for Ukraine and Israel, but also for the U.S. southern border, and perhaps for Taiwan, too. So I think if you couple it all together, there's going to be some that object to one part, but overall, the United States Senate and the Congress wants to stand with Israel, and I think that desire to stand with Israel will overwhelm any other kind of negative feelings towards the package.
Senator, what's your response to this Jewish group that's collected there in the Capitol, the Rotunda building there? We've seen arrests made throughout this hour. Seems to have calmed down a bit. They were on their feet earlier. It looks like they're sitting. Do you know anything about this group? What are they asking for? What have you heard?
I don't know anything about this group, but let's talk about this. After 9/11, when 3,000 Americans died, there was no call for a ceasefire as we went after the Taliban and Osama bin Laden. And if there had been any call for a ceasefire, Americans would have said, "What? You're kidding me." Now, if you extrapolate the number of people that died in Israel, they have a much smaller population than we do. If you extrapolated that to the U.S. population, there would have been 30 to 40,000 Americans killed. Now, just remember, 9/11. Did we think, oh, let's have a ceasefire? It was a one-off. No, we said we're going after them. That is the same mood in Israel. They went in there and they killed babies. They weren't military. They weren't soldiers. They were babies, and they were killed because they were Jewish. Hamas wants to kill Jews, and that's clear. They want to kill Jews. Now, if that's on your border, and that's a constant threat, and they just killed the equivalent of 30 to 40,000 Americans, would you stop? They're not going to stop. They're going to go in and they're going to eliminate Hamas's ability to go either militarily and or operationally, and I don't think they're going to stop until they do that.
That being said, Senator, and fresh off your visit there, and by the way, just an update from Chad Pergram, these demonstrators, they're going to be charged with illegally protesting inside the House office building. He says 3 have been charged with assaulting a police officer. So we'll continue to get an update on the situation there. Senator, you saw what's happening there firsthand. You know the urgency of the moment. How do you see Israel proceeding in the coming hours and days?
Israel, it will, as I was told by one person in the upper echelon, this will be total war. They are not going to stop until they have destroyed Hamas. As the guy said, there might be a person wandering around with an AK-47, but their leadership, which hopes to totally kill all Jews in Israel, to wipe them out, to eliminate the state of Israel, their leadership will be gone. And Israel is prepared for a multi-month campaign in which they execute that strategy.
President Biden was asked just a moment ago about getting people out. We know that there are many more Americans than we knew of before today. As our own Trey Yangst has been reporting, there are hundreds of Americans there in Gaza that want to get out. The president was asked about that. He said that they are efforting that. They are going to try to get them out. We know that there are Americans being held hostage. What does the United States need to do next to safely get these Americans out?
So you got two groups there. You have the Palestinian Americans who are in Gaza visiting family. And so that's going to take a coordination between Hamas, Egypt, Israel, and the United States. Egypt and Hamas and Israel are the most important there. I understand, and there's third parties. It's been reported widely that the Qataris are involved with this, the Egyptians, as we've already mentioned. So that is a separate group. They've got passports. That's just a kind of, as best I can understand, a coordination of everybody to agree to it at this time for them to leave. The hostages are a different matter. The hostages are hostages, and they're a hostage for a reason. Hamas hopes to use those hostages as bargaining chips against all the countries from which they have been represented, and many of them are dual nationals, to try and get something in return. And that's going to be tougher. I know that Israel is very concerned about the hostages, but I know that they are equally concerned about executing their strategy. Hamas is going to attempt to use those hostages as bargaining chips to defeat that strategy. How that plays out, we'll see over the next several days to weeks.
Senator, that is for sure. We'll see how it plays out. Meanwhile, with the 30 seconds or so that I have left here, we just got a readout from President Biden's phone call with the president of Egypt. There was a discussion between the two leaders, we are seeing, and I have the readout in front of me now, about ongoing coordination to deliver humanitarian assistance and aid to Gaza, and mechanisms to ensure that this aid is distributed for the benefit of the civilian population. That will be delicate, that will be challenging. A final thought on that to you, Senator.
Yes, the Senate is committed to, as are the Israelis, as they told me personally, to getting humanitarian aid to the Palestinians. This is not about the Palestinians, it's about Hamas from Israel's perspective. And if we can support the Palestinian people and take out Hamas, that's a good thing from the Israeli perspective. And so I think we in the Senate are concerned about the humanitarian crisis. We'll support both Israel attacking Hamas, but also the aid coming in for the Palestinians.
Senator Cassidy of Louisiana, appreciate you joining us, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much.